The Greek gods and goddesses were many, but when it came to war, Ares was the main god linked to it. He was known as the war god. We will talk a lot about Ares, where he came from, his family ties with other gods, and some famous ancient Greek tales about him. Even though Ares was among the top 12 gods called the Olympians, he wasn't a major figure in most stories. Other gods, like Athena, were more popular and got more attention. Ares was the son of Zeus, the king of all gods, and Hera, Zeus's wife. Both Zeus and Hera were strong and often got angry easily. Ares got these parts of his personality from his parents. He was known for getting angry fast, acting violently, and always being ready to fight. People in ancient Greece saw Ares as a picture of what war was like. He showed that war was sometimes needed but could also be very random and dangerous. But even though he was a god, Ares didn't have many people worshiping him. There were only a few places, like the city of Sparta, where people looked up to him a lot. In Sparta, folks thought Ares was the perfect soldier, strong, tough, and great at fighting. Here's something interesting. Ares and Athena, another god, were kind of rivals. This was because they were very different, and people in Greece thought differently about them. Athena was smart, good at making plans, and a brave fighter. Ares, though, was mostly just seen as strong and liking battles. He didn't have the extra layers to his personality that Athena had. That's why many Greek people liked Athena more. Also, Zeus, their father, liked Athena more too. He often told her she was doing a great job, while Ares felt like Zeus didn't notice him much. But why was there this difference between Ares and Athena? And what does it tell us about what ancient Greeks thought was important? Well, the ancient Greeks respected people who could think well and make smart plans, not just those who were strong. This is one reason why they liked Athena more. She was the goddess of wisdom and was known for helping heroes make clever plans. For example, she helped the hero Odysseus with smart ideas on his long journey home in the famous story The Odyssey by Homer, written around 800 BCE. Ares, however, was more about the wild and scary side of war. Stories from around 700–600 BCE, like those written by the poet Hesiod, show Ares as someone who loved chaos and fighting without thinking ahead. This wasn't something the Greeks respected as much. It's kind of like how today we might think it's better to solve problems by talking and thinking carefully, rather than just getting into fights. Even the places where Ares and Athena were worshipped show this difference. Like we said earlier, Ares was a big deal in Sparta. Now, Sparta was famous in ancient times for being all about fighting and war. Boys were trained from a young age, around 7 years old, to be soldiers. They had a tough life, eating simple foods, wearing simple clothes, and not being allowed to see their families often. It was all to make them strong and tough. This is probably why they liked Ares. He was like the ultimate Spartan soldier. On the other hand, Athena was the favorite in Athens. You can tell because the city's name even sounds like hers. Athens was different from Sparta. It was a place where people loved to learn and talk about ideas. They invented things like democracy, where citizens vote on decisions. The world's first known play was performed in Athens in 534 BCE. They built beautiful buildings like the Parthenon, a temple for Athena, around 447–432 BCE. So, you can see why they liked Athena, with her wisdom and smart thinking. However, it wasn't just about being smart. The Greeks also believed that the best people had something they called arete. This word means something like being the best you can be. It included being brave and strong, but also smart, fair, and caring about others. Heroes in Greek stories like Hercules, who was famous for his strength but also for his big heart, were admired for their arete. Hercules' stories, known as the 12 Labors of Hercules, were first told around 600 BCE and are still famous today. Athena showed more arete than Ares because she was brave, used her brain, and cared about justice. Ares was brave too, but he didn't have the other parts of arete. That's part of why Athena got more respect. In Greek myths, Ares, known as the god of war, often shows up in stories about battles and fights. He was a big part of the famous Trojan War, but he didn't win. Athena, another god, beat him. Ares had many kids who were symbols of scary things in war, like Phobos, who represented fear, Deimos, who was terror, and Enyo, who meant discord. One of his sons, Anteros, took over his job as the war god later. He also had daughters like Harmonia and Erene, who stood for the different sides of war and peace. There was a group of warrior women called the Amazons, and people thought they were directly related to Ares. Their queen, Hippolyta, had a special belt from Ares that showed she was strong and in charge. Special birds also protected the Amazons' holy places, similar to the Stymphalian birds that the hero Heracles defeated. People also talked about how Ares might be connected to love because of a possible relationship with Aphrodite, the goddess of love. There's a chance that Eros, the love god, was Ares' son. Interestingly, A war god could also be involved in love. There's a famous story about Ares and Aphrodite having a secret relationship. Aphrodite was married to Hephaestus, and he made it so everyone could see Ares and Aphrodite together, which was pretty embarrassing for them. This story is connected to the necklace of Harmonia, a jewelry piece that caused problems for anyone who had it. Ares also had trouble with two giant brothers, Enceladus and Otis. They caught him and kept him in a big bronze jar. They only let him go when the goddess Artemis tricked them, leading to their downfall. In the Trojan War, Ares first helped the Trojans, but then he got hurt in a fight with a hero named Diomedes, who followed Athena's advice. Because Ares was hurt, the Trojans lost the war, again showing that Athena was better at war than Ares. Looking at Ares and the Roman war god, Mars, you can see interesting differences between Greek and Roman culture. The Greeks thought Ares was important but didn't like him. The Romans, however, thought Mars was great. They saw him as a guardian and a symbol of peace, kind of like how the Greeks saw Athena. The Romans thought their army was very important, and they loved Mars almost as much as they loved Jupiter, their king god. They thought of Mars as keeping peace through strength and fighting. Mars had a secret love affair with Aphrodite, even though she married Hephaestus. This romance was often seen as a way to show the sharp contrast between love, symbolized by Aphrodite's beauty, and the harshness of war represented by Ares. Their love brought several kids like Deimos, Phobos, and Harmonia into the world. Some say even Eros, the god of love, was their child, which is a fine example of how love and war were intertwined. Ares played a role in the famous Trojan War, where he fought for the Trojans and Hector against the Greeks who Athena helped. This episode in history showed the clash between Ares and Athena's ways of waging war. A deeper look shows that ancient Greeks preferred smart strategies like Athena's over the plain brutality shown by Ares, eventually leading to the Greeks winning the war. The contrasting characters of Ares and Athena were a big lesson about the Greek values at the time. Athena, with her wise and just ways in warfare, was more appreciated than Ares, who was all about the chaos and bloodshed in battles. This tells us that the Greeks valued a good strategy and justice over mindless violence, a belief deeply rooted in their culture and shown through the stories of their gods. Ares, the war god from Greek stories, might not be the most popular or show up as much as other gods. However, he's still an interesting character because of his complicated personality, relationships, and exciting adventures. When you compare him with Mars from Roman myths, you can see that the Greeks and Romans had very different ideas about war and the gods connected to it. Today, we remember Ares as a symbol of how messy and complicated war can be, and for his ongoing competition with Athena, the goddess of wisdom and good at war. Now that you've learned about Ares and Athena, can you think of other Greek gods who didn't get along or who were friends, and what big ideas they showed? Let us know in the comments, smash that like, and subscribe for more.